and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to talk about a really difficult issue, homelessness, but also how a local nonprofit is working to help those people and to end homelessness. My guest is Charlotte Dillow from HELP. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Your name has been synonymous with HELP for as long as I can remember. I mean, you work personally and tirelessly in these initiatives.
I do, thank you. I am going into my 22nd year with HELP. I started volunteering when our winter shelter program, A Night's Welcome, started years ago and have been with the organization ever since in some form of capacity, a volunteer, staff member, and now have been the executive director since 2004.
All right, I'm going to ask you personally why you're involved because, you know, it's a tough thing, and many of us will see the homeless on the streets begging or holding up a sign, and you know, we look the other way, and you don't look the other way. You may not help them in that individual sort of way. You help on the global issue, but how do you? It's hard because you make a dent, but you don't solve the problems.
Right. Years ago, I was reading a church bulletin one Sunday morning, and this organization, HELP, was forming a meeting to start an emergency winter shelter program. I later learned that HELP had been around since 1982 and had been doing food and clothing and shelter in other ways, but they found that there was a need for an emergency winter shelter and decided they were going to run it in the coldest winter months from October to around the end of March, 1st of April. And they were having an organizational meeting. And it said, if you were interested, come and learn more. So I did that. And when I walked into the meeting, they were actually handing out a bedroll and a blanket. And it was part of our training, which I didn't know was starting that evening, on how we could serve our communities homeless. The program started very small with a whole lot of volunteers with a lot of heart that wanted to serve their fellow man. So the program was born, and we started partnering with area synagogues and churches, faith communities, to actually host our winter shelter. Shelter typically opens at 6 in the evening and runs to 7 o'clock the next morning, and folks come in and our volunteers serve them a hot meal. They serve them a hot breakfast meal, and then they're on their own for the day. And a lot of caring folks decided that we needed to do more than that, although
that's huge.
It was a big thing to do.
And congratulate yourselves and the volunteers and the religious organizations who help out, because that was probably the most critical need. I mean, if you are living on the streets, you can maybe make it during the daytime where you can get into a community center, where you can get into a library, where, you know, the sun comes out. But at night, in the winter, I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we found that we were serving an awful lot of men. If we had a lady walk through the shelter doors, that was a big deal. Of course, any human being is important, but a woman coming through or a woman with children, we realized, wow, we have to do more. So when our numbers started reaching the 40 mark, the 50, 60 mark a night, we realized that we needed to start doing some really intense case management and really getting to the bottom of why folks were homeless. And we started doing that. We started doing some detailed case management. We opened our day center in Buckrow. The building affords folks showers and laundry services on our second floor, as well as job training, and our offices are located downstairs. And it's really all about self-sufficiency, not keeping folks in their homeless condition. We want them to help themselves. So we pride ourselves in saying we offer a hand up instead of a hand out. We are certainly going to feed and clothe and shelter you and meet your basic human needs. But we want you to partner with us and work on your goals of self-sufficiency, short-term goals, long-term goals. Folks don't think about, if you don't have an ID, if you don't have your birth certificate, those are things that are hindering you from getting a job and moving forward. So we help folks do those things.
If you don't have a phone number or an email address that you can check regularly and you get a call back, you miss it. I mean, you know, there's so many hurdles once you're in that situation.
Our day center allows folks to use our address for a mailing address. We can take messages for folks. They can receive their mail there. And then we typically ask them to check in with us so that they can come down and get their mail. And we help them set up email addresses. Of course, now with Gmail, Google, it's so easy for anyone to have an email address. So we're able to do that. On-site job training helps folks with their resumes. We do some role play, peer review, letting folks see why maybe they're not winning at that job interview because maybe they're doing something they don't even realize they're doing. And often the peer review helps them see that, and it comes more receptively from one of their peers than it may be from one of us. So that has been a really extra help for us to be able to do things like that.
So you see, I mean, I think some of us might think, oh, a lot of people who are homeless are that sort of chronic homeless. Maybe there's mental health issues. Maybe they're not going to be the kind of people who can be trained or can get a job. But there are a lot of people who fall into this temporarily. Because of really bad circumstances.
Absolutely. And so that's one of the things that we do when folks come down to our day center. That is our point of entry for all of our services. You have to come down and register, whether you're looking to move into our family shelter, transitional housing, one of our job programs, or even the emergency winter shelter. After you come for a day or two to the winter shelter, you have to come down and register. And we found that in the privacy of our office, it is easier to get detailed information. And then we really look at why the person is homeless. Is it a substance abuse problem? Is it a mental health problem? Is it the fact that they have simply fallen down on their luck? Perhaps there was a fire in their apartment building and they did not have the renter's insurance they were supposed to have. They don't have that first and last month's rent to start over. So we're able to help with some of those things and working towards those short-term and long-term goals to help them get back on track. One of the things that we have recently started is a program called Jobs for Life. It is a faith-based program nationally known, and it teaches folks how to get back on track with job training. And it restores dignity in individuals that maybe have lost that because they have been out of the workforce for so long, thinking no one wants them, they're not able to get back on track. I think so many of us feel that a homeless person, all they need to do is get a job. If that person holding the sign on the street corner would just stop doing that and work as hard at getting a job as they did holding that sign, sometimes it's not that simple. When I first got started 20 plus years ago, my only exposure to someone that was homeless was what I saw on TV, a detective show in New York City.
Right.
And oftentimes now that is so far from the truth. Homeless folks look just like you and I do. They have families that love them. Their hearts are big as well, and they want to help and they want to do better. So when we can connect them with services in our community, whether Help can do that or we partner with other agencies in town, we want to help them succeed.
So people who really think of you guys as emergency backup. So in the extreme cold weather, you keep them from being on the streets and freezing, and in extreme hot weather, you drive through, you have fans, you hand out water. It's much more than that. It's more, you may have started as kind of that short-term, let's keep people alive, and now you're in a more, let's get people on their own 2 feet.
Absolutely. As you said, we started off as an emergent shelter or emergency place to come for financial assistance or for food, and we certainly still do all of those things. But we want to help you get out of that emergency situation. We started off with relief, rehabilitation, and then development. And what that means is simply relief. We're going to help you Band-Aid your situation. We're going to stop the bleeding. We're going to figure out what caused it, and we're going to take care of it.
Because you can't get to the long term until you have enough to eat, until you have a safe place to sleep, until you recover a little bit.
Right. Until all of your basic human needs are met. If you've got a child that's sick, that's what you're thinking about. You're not thinking about where you're going to sleep tonight. You are thinking about getting help for that child. So we want to help you look at the short-term and the long-term things so that you can get to that rehabilitation, so you can get to that development and figure out what it is that you need to do. And sometimes that can be overwhelming in life. We're overwhelmed in our own homes with decisions that we face every single day. So when you are homeless and don't have anywhere to go or think you don't have anywhere to go, you are just overwhelmed with everything.
And now, are there people who have some resources and don't know they're there, don't know about social services, don't know what they could qualify for, don't know really what to do? You know, it's something that happened to them because, as you said, of a fire or illness, or, you know, being kicked out of, maybe they've burned through some family connections and just ran to the end of their rope.
Absolutely. And there's folks like that out there, of course, and that's one of the reasons why we want them to come to our day center down in Buckrow and really talk to us and do that in-depth interview with us so that we can figure out what they may be eligible for. And then, as I said earlier, we partner with so many organizations organizations in our community, whether it be Hampton Department of Human Services, Newport News Department of Human Services, the Veterans Administration, Community Services Board. Something as simple as you needing food. Our food pantry is located inside of Hampton Department of Human Services, but we require you to go through the intake desk there, and what we're looking for is not only your personal information, but perhaps you qualify for some food stamp assistance that you didn't know you did, and we want to make sure that the individual is getting that because, again, our food pantry is a Band-Aid, and we want to make sure you have the long-term solution.
Let's talk about veterans for a second, because that's gotten a lot of attention locally with the VA needing the space and the short-term Veterans Center closing, but also with the national initiative launched by Michelle Obama.
Last year, many of us from our community and other communities on the peninsula, Hampton Road, South Side, went to Richmond, and we had a veterans boot camp. We had no idea what we were getting involved with, but it was Michelle Obama's initiative to end veteran homelessness across the United States. Our mayor, George Wallace, signed an initiative saying that we would, in fact, join that and try to do that in Hampton. So we have been very successful in doing that, in identifying homeless veterans, and across the state of Virginia have reduced veteran homelessness by as much as 85% in just this short year that we've been working with veterans.
That is incredible.
We're very proud. Of course, do we say that we've ended veteran homelessness? We will be doing that, and it's shortcoming, or it's on the horizon. However, there are always folks that have mental illnesses that may be scared to come in off the street, but we know where they are, we have identified them, and at any given time when they are ready, we stand here waiting to help them come in and help them find a home.
And let's say one of the sad things is there's still a lot of veterans, and people who may be not in crisis right now might become in crisis, might be, there's just so many things that can continue to happen when people are right there on that edge.
Absolutely.
So you may never solve the problem for very long. Right. It comes back.
They have come up with a term called functional zero, which we cringe when we hear, but basically what that means to us is we are not so overwhelmed now with numbers. Right. We know that if we do find homeless veterans out there, we have space available for them. They don't have to stay on the street. If they choose to, that's a mental health issue, but there is space available now for them to come in.
And isn't that huge?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations on all the gains that you've made. Now, those of us who have a hard time maybe with the handout with the person on the street, but want to do something, you need some volunteers. You could use some help, right?
We always need volunteers. Of course, financial donations are always welcome, but we need these two things right here. We need your hands. And we'd love to have you volunteer at our winter shelter programs, at our day center. We're in particular need right now at our medical and dental clinics. We are in need of volunteer professionals to come out and volunteer as little as 3 hours a month. We would love to have you. So folks can turn to our website for more information on that or give us a call, and we'd love to put you to work. Again, it can be as little as 2 or 3 hours a month, once a year, or we'd love to have you regularly weekly.
That sounds great. Okay. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add before we close, Charlotte?
I appreciate all the support that we get from our community. We could not do it without the individuals, our community supporters, the City of Hampton, and all those that partner with us to make this possible. Last year, we donated over $7 million worth of services back to our community on a $700,000 budget. So that's a lot of hands working to do a lot of work in our community. So we say thank you to all of those that support us.
And thank you to you and all of your volunteers for doing this.
Thank you.
We in the community appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you will think about looking at ways to volunteer or contribute to the folks that are maximizing our tax dollars with all of their volunteer labor and assistance. Thanks for watching.